Welcome to Manny's TV Talk, where we will talk about all of our favorite reality TV shows and news surrounding them. Grab a snack, a drink,
Hey guys,
and get comfortable because this starts
today we're
now.
going to be recapping the new episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville, Season 6, Episode 13. This episode is called Holt-ing Court. Okay, we pick up this episode where we left off last week, this horrible meeting that Maurice had done with the son, Kaiwa, and Kimmi. At this point, it's just Kimmi and Maurice, and he said to her that he wants Kimmi to have more meetings and more interaction with Kaiwa, and that triggers her a little bit, rightfully so, because Kimmi is still holding on to some resentment, which is that, Kaiwa was going around implying that Kimmi was messing with a married man, aka Maurice, back when they started dating, and she says that it's not true. And you know what? Now that I think about it, that might be one of the reasons why Monster doesn't really obey Kimmi. Maybe he sees her as the woman who made his parents get divorced. That's just a thought. You know what? Maurice may have the right intentions, but he has horrible execution. And Kimmi says, I feel like there's no integrity in Kaiwa. And she's mad that Maurice is just, so dumb to keep coming up with these horrible ideas. And then he says, you know what? I'm going to set up the meeting with you and Kaiwa right now. After Kimmi clearly said no. I have to say this. I know that Marsau gets a lot of the backlash, but I feel like Maurice is equally or maybe even worse than him. They are definitely brothers. And I do feel bad for Kimmi to a certain extent, because how am I gonna say to you, no, I don't want to meet with her, and then you pull up your phone and say, nope, I'm doing it right now. You have no option. It's very controlling. But okay, let's move on to the next scene with Latisha. Tisha is doing a photo shoot with her daughters for the launch of some hair product. I think it's great, getting the kids involved in the business and letting them be part of the entrepreneurship world. Then Keke, her cousin, arrives. She was looking very good, and she came in, bearing gifts. Most specifically, Chick-fil-A. I love Chick-fil-A. What's better than that when someone's coming over? And then they chat, just Keke and Tisha. Kiki says, what's going on? I heard that you're getting the keys to the city. Apparently she is. And it's bothering Kiki a little bit because she wishes that Tisha would have been the one who told her and she didn't find out through someone else. But because Tisha has been so busy, she didn't have time to tell her. But in that moment, she, cordially invites Kiki, and Kiki accepts. We then move to Melody and Kimmi hanging out at the spa, getting a massage. That's nice. Kimmi says that as far as her health, she feels a little bit better. Then Melody says, well, I'm sure that Maurice and Monster are helping a lot, which is obviously further than reality. And they're about to get into it, but then the lady of the spa comes and they're doing some muscle stimulation. I don't know what it was, but Kimmi was the only one who did it. And then they talk. Kimmi brings up the meeting that they had just recently, and she says that she thought it went well. And I was like, what does she mean it went well? What? And then she also brings up Kaiwa and says things aren't great with her because Kimmi thinks that Kaiwa was making it sound to other people that she interfered in the marriage. So then Melody says, well, did you interfere in the marriage? Because she had never asked Kimmi. She never really knew what happened. So Kimmi says, no. Me and Maurice met when he was already in the process of getting divorced. But in her mind, she thought they could reconcile. So that's how some confusion happened. But no, he was definitely not with her anymore. But Kimmi says that she, however, will still have the meeting with Kaiwa later on. Then Kimmi asks Melody where her head is at for the expo. Melody still doesn't know, one of the factors is working with Martell is not, the best thing right now. And then Kimmi brings up the case of Martell and Melody with the child custody. Mel says that it's been so hard, so draining to have him, try and take her children from her. And he doesn't even turn in the correct stuff. He's not really even taking it seriously, which is what's making it worse for her. Kimmi is talking about, y'all need to meet in the middle, but it's definitely not that simple, specifically with Martell and Melody's situation. The next scene is Tisha getting her hair done. They actually showed Tisha getting the keys of the city, but it was very briefly, like in flashback format. Like they didn't really dedicate an actual scene. But here, where Tisha is getting her hair done, Keke joins. Because guess what? Keke didn't show up to the ceremony. And remember, she was just complaining about not being told about it. But at first, they talk a little bit about Keke and her journey of being sober and getting help with her addiction. She's apparently taking some substance that she's going to get off now. And then they talk about the trip. Tisha says she wishes Keke would have been there. And she says, when you texted me that you weren't going, I thought it was just yet another excuse. Keke says, I did try to make it. And if I would have had transportation, I would have gone. She says, if she could have been there, she would have been there. But Tisha says that there's always something coming up with her. She needs to see some change from Keke. And I definitely see both sides. I do think Tisha was coming across a little bit rude, but then again, maybe she is tired of Keke's excuses, so it's a messy situation. Anyway, Keke apologizes and says it was not intentional. And then Tisha invites her to the Black Expo, and Keke says, I'll be there. And Tisha says, well, hopefully you will. Moving right along, Melody goes over to Nell's house. I think Nell is probably Melody's only real friend on the show, and I like seeing them actually together. But as it turns out, Nell and her husband were subpoenaed to the court, and it was all because of Martell. Martell called in so many witnesses, and Ms Nell tells Melody, I don't like being subpoenaed. And the husband, Chris, then, he goes over. And he spills some tea, y'all. He tells Melody that Martell is having to sell his house because he's basically broke. He doesn't have that much money. And this could explain why he wants full child custody. Maybe he wants that child support. Okay, and at the same time, we get another scene with Martell and his mom. Turns out he's mad at his mom for not fighting hard enough when she was at court and she took the stand. And the mom says, listen, when they asked me the questions, I answered them. I didn't add stuff because I'm not used to this type of thing. And Martell is talking about, you should have shown up and done this and been more tough. Martell and the mom then talk about Melody, and they're being messy. They're saying, because Martell's mom really likes to egg him on, especially when he's talking about Melody. And Martell is saying that Melody was the one who recommended each of them has 6 months to take care of the kids. And that's why he took her to court, because he thought, if you don't want them, then I'll have them. But that's what he's saying, so I don't think it's true. But going back to Melody and Ms Nell and Chris, Melody is very upset because this judge said that the father seemed to have the child's best interest at heart, but we can't say the same thing about the mother. And apparently it was all because Melody didn't want to give Martell her new phone number because he didn't want to be harassed. I mean, it's been proven that he has harassed her. So I understand why she didn't want to give him his phone, but I guess the judge didn't like that. So Melody is considering filing an appeal because there seemed to be some bias. The judge was giving Martell extensions, for example. So we'll see what happens with that. And then the next and final scene is Kimmi going over to see Kaiwa. They have this sit down, just the two of them. Kimmi first asks, how did things go with Monster when you took him to dinner? And she says that he clearly misses his mom, which again is still what I still don't understand why she just won't take him to live with her. But anyway, she says that she's going to make more an effort to come down there and visit him more. So I guess that's good. Then Kimmi says, you know what? Well, the reason we're here is because Maurice really wanted us to work things out. Kimmi starts to open up and says that part of her is still holding on to Kaiwa, implying that Kimmi was essentially a homewrecker. She says that was not the case and that we all know the truth. And Kaiwa says, well, I don't know what you want me to say. I have never said that you were a side piece. And Kimmi is saying, yeah, you did. And I feel like it's a lack of integrity for you to let it go on and make it into a narrative. And that's where the episode ended. Now, I will say Kaiwa definitely still looks uncomfortable being around Kimmi. You could tell that whole interaction was just awkward. She didn't want to be there. So I don't know. I like Kimmi, but I wonder what really happened. Again, maybe Kaiwa is just resentful the husband left her, and because he's with Kimmi, she is taking it off on her. I don't know, but it's interesting. So like I said, that was the end of the episode. Pretty good episode. I like seeing Melody and Martell talk about the court case, only because I remember when this was happening and the court documents were being leaked, and we were reading them, and we all saw that line that said, we can't say the same thing for the mother. I remember thinking to myself, why would the judge say that Melody doesn't have the kid's best interest at heart? But now hearing it from Melody's side, it makes total sense. And I do think that there might have been some bias. So I hope that Melody gets this sorted out. I think it's so disgraceful that Martell is doing this for the kids, trying to take them from their mother, you guys. Like, that's unbelievable. So maybe it is true. Maybe Martell wants that child custody check. I don't know. But anyways, you guys, let me know what were your thoughts about this episode. What did you think about all the things that everyone said? Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and I'll catch y'all next time. You'll have a great one. Bye.